Start, please. All right. Again, just a day or two after our last meeting, we learned of the retirement of our friend, Representative Cody. Certain it was a really bittersweet decision for her after serving, I think it's over 27 years. So many contributions, so many bills passed under her leadership. We are, really sorry to see this day come, and we'll definitely celebrate her work after the end of her term. Hoping that we are all also continuing to keep the people of Ukraine in our minds. I've heard from my team over there. I get updates occasionally, and as of this point, they're all safe. But it's, we've all seen the devastation and the horrible crimes of war that are happening over in that country. So please do what you can to raise those Ukrainian folks up and keep them safe in your hearts as well. We also had a very successful caucus on March 26th. This year it's an issues caucus, not in a presidential year. So we are in our issues caucus, and our delegation is now set. Again, Rachel, our first vice chair, Rachel Glass, made her recruiting magic happen and earned us an additional 4 delegates by meeting our affirmative action goals. The state party sets those for us every year, and we were the only, one of only 5 districts that met or exceeded their goals. So huge kudos to Rachel, and really, really proud that we have a diverse delegation this year. We have started our work. We had our first meeting this past weekend, and we will be sharing more about the work that we're doing in the announcements a little bit later. Finally, I know we're all dancing in the streets to have watched Congress confirm our first Black female to sit on the Supreme Court. It was a good week. And now, we look at how that went down. Mostly Democrats supporting her appointment. Ketanji Brown Jackson, along with 3 Republicans, only 3. And again, this brings us back to what we can actually accomplish when we have a majority in Congress. This translates to what we're going to be doing this year. The progress that we're making, it's so important that we keep that majority. So get ready, get yourself ready to step up and take part in this fight. We need each and every one of you engaged and supporting the effort however you can. We do have a safe seat here in the 34th. I think we do. I'm sure all of you agree, but we all need to focus our attention on those races that need all hands on deck. So I hope I can count on you as we get into the summer. All right, without further ado, Rachel, would you share our land acknowledgement, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carla. On behalf of the 34th LD Democrats, I acknowledge the land on which we stand today as the traditional home of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, and Muckleshoot nations. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering or to this dialogue. I ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land on which we live and work, who are still here.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, let's see, let's keep moving here. Let's see who we have here. I know I heard Chris, or I saw Chris's comment. Chris, this is our VIP acknowledgement section. I'd love to recognize you and let you have a moment to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Exciting time around the Conservation District, as diversity, equity, and inclusion remain our highest priority, as conservation has been void of diversity, equity, and inclusion for the 70 years that it has existed. So we're really pulling out all the stops in terms of new hires, in terms of focus, in terms of bringing conservation, if you will, attitude, perspective, and resources to urban areas where they had not been as much, yet still not overlooking the importance that farmers play in our daily lives. We certainly can't live without them, and yet still reminding people to remembering to remind people of the importance of conservation in protecting pollinators, because 1 to 3 bites of food comes from pollinators, and we simply cannot live without birds, bees, and butterflies. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chris. All right, I think I see Representative Cody. Eileen, would you like to say a few words?
Just hello to everybody, and I hope everybody's ready for watching a campaign this summer. I'm sure that we'll have more than one person getting into the race. So, and I'm gonna like sit back and just watch. So just
I'm sure that will be much more fun.
Yep. For me anyway.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I'm going to say, we're not going to be watching this. We're all going to be participating in it. Thank you so much. I think I was expecting Joe, but I don't see him in, so I'll just keep going. Thanks to you both for joining us tonight. As you all can see on the screen, we have our proposed agenda. I want to make a note here that the original agenda that was posted on our homepage for a very short while included an additional item that was intended to be removed. We had proposed that we'd go in and bring a resolution into this meeting around the around support of the gondola option, but then that did not pass through our board, so we had to remove it from the agenda, and I totally missed removing it from the agenda. So we will be discussing that resolution at our upcoming board meeting, and if it passes, we will come in to May with that resolution. So sorry, I know that a couple people saw that and got all excited, but unfortunately, I did pull it out. I did have to pull it out. So other than that, I believe that I have also planned to potentially, depending on how our timing goes, I might flop my announcements at the end with the ranked choice voting piece, just because I don't want to lose everyone with our important convention updates. Other than that, excuse me, other than that, are there any other discussion items on the agenda?
I would move the agenda.
Thank you, Anne. Anyone second?
Second.
Seconded by?
Karen?
Cody.
Cody.
Okay, I'll take you both. Very good. Thank you. Are there any objections to adopting the agenda? Any objections to I can't speak tonight, adopting the agenda? Okay, hearing no objections, the motion will pass by unanimous consent and the agenda will be adopted. Thank you. Moving on, the minutes will be posted into the chat. I also sent those out on Monday. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Any corrections to the minutes? All right, hearing none. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Rachel. And the second was?
Anne.
Thanks, Anne. That didn't sound like you, Anne. Sorry. All right, any objections to the adoption of the minutes from the March 9th meeting? Any objections? Okay. Hearing no objections, the motion will pass by unanimous consent and the minutes will be adopted. Moving on to the budget and membership report. Link in the chat. Treasurer Julie Whitaker and I met this past Monday to prepare a budget. Oh gosh, I have totally not moved my, sorry about that, everyone. We met on Monday to prepare a budget proposal for consideration by the membership. We pulled through that, the two of us, and we've got a proposal that we're going to share with the board next week. And if that goes well and we have one coming out of that meeting that's approved by the board, then we'll share that at the May meeting. And our fiscal year end is at the end of April. So we have to get something approved in May so that we have an approved budget going forward. The good thing is that we're in very good shape. I think I say that every month. In the meantime, Julie will present the March Treasurers Report. Julie? Uh-oh. It looks like Julie is not with us. Okay, sorry about that. I will present the Treasurers Report. So you've got this on.
Wait, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
great,
Sorry.
no problem.
Okay. So our beginning balance was $26,276.88. Our income was $4,120.04. 1,866 of that was from memberships. 2,200 was the fundraiser donation tickets, and 5404 was bank fees paid by both members and those doing the fundraiser. Our expenses were $780.19. That included bank fees, RevCom, Canva, Zoom, the deputy treasurer, PCO expenses, outreach expenses, caucus expenses, and legal fees. Our ending balance was 29,616.73. Good job, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Moving on. Any questions on the Treasurer's Report for March? Any questions?
Well, I have a chair, madam question. What am I saying? I have a question, Madam Chair.
I will only accept words in the proper order, Chris. Go ahead.
I had a little bit of wine, so forgive me. Anyway. I did have a question about the legal fees. I thought we were sort of at the end of paying for those. And if so, are these new based on?
Yeah, Chris, they're tiny little things. We are going through, without getting into too much detail, we're going through some correspondence with Glenn Morgan's attorneys to essentially get him to drop his last lawsuit against us. So, and this lawsuit is applicable to several different LDs, and a ruling that happened, I believe, last year, in our opinion, our legal opinion, makes his lawsuit irrelevant. So we're still in kind of the final stages of pushing him to drop what he's doing. And I think the legal fees were like, I don't know, $70 or something like that. Just a little tiny bit.
Thank you.
Sure, great question. All right, any other questions about the Treasurer's Report? And I will call out too, if you're ever really interested in exactly what we spend our money on, we do send out the Treasurer's Report also the Sunday before, and it has like in very granular detail that information. So just FYI. Happy to answer. All right. If there are no questions, we will file this for audit and move on. As of yesterday, we had a total of 119 paid 2022 members and 101 PCOs. So thanks to everyone who's renewed or joined. We've got a long way to go to get to the 300 that I was trying to do by the end of April, but we will keep pushing. I will be asking the board to start making phone calls next week. So save us some phone calls and get your name off the list by going ahead in the chat. You should have a link and you can renew your membership this evening or join. We also are getting ready to go into endorsements. So just a reminder that in order to be able to vote in our June 8th endorsement meeting, you have to be a renewing member by the night before. So that would be June 7th. And that's just for renewing members. New members would have to have joined by May 11th. So we're getting to that point where we need to make sure we are all joined up and ready to go. Tonight, we are going to be doing 2 endorsements. So anyone who has actually filled out a membership form this year, actually starts December 26th of last year, all through today, or obviously PCOs, those are the only folks who can vote in that endorsement. Okay, moving on, I want to give Gina Top, our fundraising and events chair, a few minutes to encourage you to attend our upcoming event. Gina.
Thank you so much, Chair Rogers. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gina Top, and I have the honor of planning our annual fundraiser this year. It has been 2 years since we've had our last in-person fundraiser, and this year's fundraiser is going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, we are unveiling the theme, which is Paint the Night Blue. The event will be on Thursday, July 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Arthur's Restaurant in West Seattle. This is our one big annual fundraiser where we do raise our funds to do our electoral work here in the 34th. So it is an important event for us, but it should also be a lot of fun as we encourage folks that evening to wear blue. We will have blue drinks, blue food, and we will be able to gather with one another. This is also a great event to bring folks who are, sort of on the line about whether they should join the 34th or come and attend, because it is a time to mix and mingle and be with fellow 34th members. Special tonight, if you purchase your ticket tonight, you get a free, or it comes with a beautiful Ignite Change 34th t-shirt. This artwork was done by a local artist here in the 34th. The shirts are very beautiful and go along sort of with our blue theme. I've put the link for tickets in the chat. So I encourage you to go online, purchase your ticket for the fundraiser, along with getting a t-shirt with that purchase. Again, the 34th is a welcoming organization. We don't turn anyone away from our fundraising events. If you're unable to afford the ticket price, there are opportunities for you to get involved beforehand and volunteer, and then join us that evening. And if that is of interest for you, or if you have any questions about the event, my email is in the chat for you. Please go ahead and reach out. With that, I hope to see lots of tickets purchased this evening. Thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing all the different shades of blue on our Paint the Night Blue event at Arthur's Restaurant. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. That was very great. Very good. We are moving on to our candidate spotlight. We'd love to bring candidates in prior to the endorsements to give them a few minutes to talk. Tonight we have 4 judicial candidates and a very special video. I had originally had Stephen Thomas, who's the 34th member as well, scheduled, but he has decided that now is not the right time for him to run for King County prosecutor. So I've pulled him off our list, but we had a late arrival. So we've still got our 4 judicial candidates, and I will start off by, and just a quick moment for the candidates, 2 to 3 minutes. We're not going to time you, but if you can keep it to that, that'll be great. And we will start with Kristen Ballinger.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. My name is Kristen Ballinger. I was appointed by Governor Inslee in December to the King County Superior Court. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but it really is my privilege and honor to serve. And I was quite delighted about the appointment as well. I've been in practice for about 20 years, though some of that time I took off to raise my husband's and my daughter. I started out in public service at the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. I also clerked for a federal judge here in Seattle. I ended up, as I said, taking some time off to raise our daughter. And when I came back to practice, we were in the middle of the recession, and there wasn't an opportunity for people with experience to come back to the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And so I went into private practice, and it was great. I loved it. I practiced at a small firm in Seattle for about 8 years, and I did really interesting work. My favorite client was the Upper Skagit Indian Tribe, and we worked with them, their general counsel, and with their members to do things that were really important to their members, including defending their treaty rights in federal court and their sovereignty at the United States Supreme Court. And ironically, that work is what actually led me to apply to be a judge. I found that working for them and working for some of the other public clients we had was really meaningful to me, because I thought it mattered to the public. That work that we did really made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And I wanted to put my skills and my experience to work back in the public service. I come from a family of public service. My husband retired as a rescue helicopter pilot with the Coast Guard. My dad was in the service. My mom was a teacher. My brother and sister are public middle school teachers here in the community. And it was really my place to come back to public service. And so I applied to the governor's office for an appointment, and it really has been a great pleasure to serve. Just telling you a little bit about King County Superior Court. And what I do, I was assigned to the dependency rotation in our court, which is a 1 to 2 or to 3 year rotation system that we have. And dependencies is basically kids in foster care. And so hearing about the Choose 180 program, and there's a lot of intersections with that program and the work we do. Our job as judges is to keep kids safe. That's by statute. That's our paramount consideration, is what the statute says. And so that makes this job exactly what I wanted, which was meaningful work that mattered to others. Every day I get to do things that are consequential to kids and their families. And I think you would be really happy to know and pleased to know about the resources that your county spends to what we call rectify parental deficiencies, with the hope that we can bring kids back, put the family back together. But that if we can't, being really intentional about placing kids in safe placements, whether it's guardianships or adoption, if they can't be put back with their families. I really appreciate the time to talk to you tonight. I hope to earn your endorsement. I will put in that chat endorsements of about, I think, 150 people who have endorsed me so far, including some people I'm really proud of. Most recently, I just earned the endorsement of Justice Montoya Lewis, who's a real hero of mine on the Washington State Supreme Court, and I hope to add you to the list. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go next with Catherine McDowell.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet all of you and see a little bit about what you are doing. My name is Kat McDowell. I have been a judge on Seattle Municipal Court since October of 2020. I was appointed by Mayor Durkin. So I'm happy for the opportunity to introduce myself to you. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Ohio and went to law school on the East Coast in Virginia. And it was there that I met my husband, John McDowell, who is a lifelong resident of Seattle. I've lived here since 1997, and we have 4 children, ages 19, 15, 17, and 13. By way of legal background, I worked in private practice when I first graduated law school, but when I moved to Seattle, I chose to enter public service, and I got a job with the King County Prosecutor's Office. My experience there was really life-changing and formative, and my 11 years at the prosecutor's office cemented my commitment to public service. I retired from the prosecutor's office to focus on my family after the birth of our 4th child, but I continued my public service through charity and community work. When I decided to return to the law, I chose again to enter the public sector and started gaining experience as a pro tem judge. So I was appointed, as I said, to Seattle Municipal Court in October 2020. That's a very interesting and exciting time to join the bench in the middle of the pandemic. But between the pandemic and the calls for social change, there's a lot of momentum and enthusiasm to revisit the way courts do business and to enact meaningful change. And I feel very privileged to be part of this change that's happening in all courts, but in Seattle Municipal Court especially. So a few things that I've been working on in my short time so far with the court. I chaired a remote access work group, which has worked to simplify and streamline our court forms and procedures for the new virtual courtroom that we've been using. I've led an effort recently to remove questions from our juror questionnaire in order to reduce the impact of implicit bias in our jury selection process. And I also wrote a position paper to persuade my colleagues that we have the legal authority to waive or suspend the majority of fines and fees for defendants, even if they are not technically indigent. So that's just a little bit about what I've been working on. I will put my contact information in the chat. And again, thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Carla, you're on mute.
Carla. Oh, okay. Thanks, Sarah.
Sorry, guys. I'm like, Adam, I'm unmuting you. Adam Eisenberg, you're up next. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. It's very nice to be here tonight. I do miss being in person, however, so I really hope we can do that soon because it's much more fun to see everybody in the same space. But I'm delighted to follow Catherine McDowell, who's the newest member of our bench. And after me will be Willie Gregory, who is the presiding judge. I serve as assistant presiding judge. I've been on the Seattle Municipal Court bench since 2017, and I'm running for re-election this fall. All of my colleagues are very devoted in our court to addressing systemic racism in the court system. And I'm going to tell you about two projects that I'm involved in that makes Seattle Municipal Court a place where we're experimenting and doing new things to try to improve equity in our courts. First, my primary job is as a domestic violence caseload. There's approximately 1,800 cases filed every year in Seattle Municipal Court. We know that's about a third of what the police actually report, and that's a percentage of actual domestic violence out there. So one of the things that Seattle Municipal Court is doing is we've created a pilot project to develop a new intervention for folks who commit intimate relationship violence. It's called the DVIP program. And the object of the program, or the purpose, is to create an individualized treatment model. So people go through a detailed assessment that includes chemical dependency, mental health. A multidisciplinary team is put together to create an individualized treatment model. And then that team continues to monitor and report back to the court throughout the time the person is going through the treatment to try to make it as helpful to the individual as possible. Our DVIP program is an alternative to jail, and it involves a collaborative effort across the community. Some of our collaborators include Refugee Women's Alliance, the Salvation Army, the Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence, the YWCA, the Mayor's Office on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, the Seattle City Attorney's Office, Harborview Medical Center, treatment providers, and two researchers from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. They are national experts on domestic violence and what is the best practice in terms of treatment models. They've received federal funding from the Violence Against Women's Act office to help support our program so that we can decide through research, is it working or not? We're hoping that it'll become an example of treatment that can be done throughout the state. The other program that I'm involved in that's very fun is the Youth Traffic Court. So Youth Traffic Court is also a great collaboration between Garfield High School, Seattle University Law School, Seattle Police Department, and the court. So Garfield High School students volunteer to participate in the program. They serve as judges, jurors, prosecutors, and defense attorneys, and they are judging, if you will, their peers. Kids who get traffic tickets in Seattle can apply to be in Youth Traffic Court. It will keep the ticket off of their record. It costs at most $25, but if they can't afford it, we waive it. And they come down to the city courthouse, they see how court works, they get judged by their peers, they're given sentences by their peers, which is usually like write a report, drive with an adult on learning how to be a safer driver under certain circumstances. Seattle University law students serve as the mentors for the high school students. Off-duty police officers volunteer their time to serve as expert witnesses, where they basically explain why it's dangerous to text while driving and how to be a safer driver. And it's a really wonderful program. And the public is always invited to watch. It happens once a month on Monday afternoons during the school year. Both DVIP and youth traffic court are examples of restorative justice. They hold individuals accountable for their behavior. They give them tools that they need to, one, be safer drivers if they're teenagers, or hopefully have safer relationships. So in both circumstances, they don't find themselves coming back to court. So those are just two of the programs I've involved in, and I really appreciate being here to talk to you a little bit about it. And I look forward to seeking your endorsement later in the spring. Thank you very much. And I'll put my email address in the chat if anybody has any questions about anything that I've discussed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And lastly, I believe Willie Gregory.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Judge Willie Gregory. I am running to retain my seat in Seattle Municipal Court. That's position number 5. I've been a judge on Seattle Municipal Court for 11 years, and I'm the presiding judge. I've been a presiding judge since 2020. So I started as presiding judge during the beginning of the pandemic. And since that day, we've had many changes in Seattle Municipal Court. Some of the changes I'm very proud of is the way that we've looked as a court to prevent and thwart systemic racism in the court. Some of the things we've done is we have eliminated non-mandatory fees, such as probation fees, record check fees, and community service fees. As a judge for 11 years, I've worked in several courts at Seattle Municipal Court. I've worked in our mental health court. I've worked in Seattle Community Court. I've been a general trial judge. I worked in DV court, and finally, I work in a veterans treatment court besides my duties as a presiding judge. I was a public defender for 12 years. Then I did private practice for about 9 years. And all during that time period, what drove me was being a servant of the public. I am very involved in serving the public, and as a judge, that is one of the things that I like to do every day. It is one of my aims to make sure that a person leaves the courthouse better than when they came in. To that end, I've been part of, as to the other judges here as well, changing our probation department so that when a person's on probation, what happens to that person is instead of probation telling the person what to do is the person gets certain things that they need to do. When a person does those certain things and meets those goals, that person can be taken off probation and hope to become a better person. So again, my name is Willie Gregory. I'm running to retain my seat as position 5 in Seattle Municipal Court. I'll be seeking your endorsement later, and I'll put my information in the chat. Thank you all. And I know I've been here about 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've been here, and it's nice seeing you all. And again, I would thank you for my endorsement. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you to all of the judicial candidates. We really appreciate you coming and sharing a few minutes with us. At this time, I'm going to ask Senator Patty Murray's representative, Kate, to play a video recorded by the senator for this occasion. I'm going to stop sharing, and Kate, you are on.
Great, thanks so much, Carla. Hi, folks. It was great to meet some of you in person at the social last month. I will leave my email contact below. Please feel free to reach out to the campaign anytime, and wanted to share some words from the senator.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to take this opportunity to send my thanks for your endorsement consideration. I so appreciate the work of Washington's local Democratic organizations who stand up for what's right, to take care of one another, and push for progress across the state. And as your U.S. Senator, I am proud to continue the fight for progress in the other Washington. This past year, we got a lot done. Whether it was passing the American Rescue Plan to get shots into arms, help schools reopen safely, support our small businesses, which cut child poverty nearly in half, and so much more to get us through the worst of this pandemic. And we passed it without a single Republican vote, by the way. Not long after, we got the bipartisan infrastructure law done to improve our bridges and roads, get high-speed internet to every community, and invest in clean energy and electric vehicles. This is our country's biggest investment in clean energy and public transit ever, so this was really a big deal. We got a good government funding package done this year recently, which finally reauthorized VAWA, including my legislation to help make sure survivors can get the care they need when they visit one of our hospitals. So we made a lot of progress, but there is a lot of work I am determined to get done. I have not given up the fight to deliver a really historic bill that will take major climate action while lowering costs for families on everything from childcare to prescription drugs. Negotiations are ongoing, and I am really focused on landing this package. I have a major bipartisan bill now moving to make sure we are ready for the next pandemic or curveball that COVID sends our way. And I am also working to move a bipartisan package that will strengthen our federal response to the mental health and substance abuse disorder crisis. There are other big fights in Congress that I have not given up on. I'm still fighting to pass strong federal voting rights protections. I was able to get every Republican senator on the record voting against my bill to codify abortion rights into law. And I will keep fighting however I can to protect reproductive freedom in this country every way I can. But so many of these issues depend on electoral outcomes and on protecting and expanding our Senate majority. 2022 is an election year, and we are really in the thick of it right now. You all know me. I never take an election for granted, and I'm going to campaign my hardest all across Washington. But campaigns are movements. I need each and every one of you in this fight with me to protect this Senate seat. Every friend, member, volunteer you bring along helps us make sure we can get our message out across Washington. So to all of the party leaders and members and PCOs considering my endorsement, thank you. We are in this together, and I hope to see you all on the campaign trail soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kate. Really appreciate Senator Murray putting that together. I'm sure she would love to show up at every single LD, but that's obviously would be taking her away from the big fight. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you all for visiting the 34th, and best of luck in your campaigns. We just have one more candidate spotlight opportunity, which will be obviously in May before our main endorsements meeting in June. So mark your calendar, June 8th, that's the big day. So kind of as a great easy segue, we're going to tonight look at doing 2 early endorsements. I'm also going to say, let's take the spotlight off and share my screen again. All right. So we're going to do this, our normal endorsement process. We just want to take care of these endorsements early. Both of these offices are pretty critical to get as much support behind them to drive into summer as possible. So the state party has asked us to look at these outside of our normal cycle. So I'm going to ask at this time, any nominations for our US Senate seat? Please give me a hand raise, and I see Leah Griffin.
I would like to move that we endorse Senator Patty Murray.
Thank you, Leah. Is there a second?
Second, Rachel.
Rachel Glass, second. Very good, thank you. Are there any other motions for our Senate seat? Any other motions? All right, well, that makes it a lot easier. I had a poll prepared. Might not need it. If we have no other nominations, I will close the nominations. And Leah, I know you have something prepared. If you'd like to speak to your motion.
I would love to. I'm sorry for my voice. I'm very ill, but nothing could stop me from being here tonight to support Senator Patty Murray. I first met the senator in 2015 after being sexually assaulted and encountering a hospital that didn't have the adequate resources to provide the health care or evidence collection that I needed. I sent out hundreds of emails to everyone I thought could help, and the very first person to get back in touch with me was Senator Patty Murray. When I went to her office and talked to her staff about the problem, they were appalled, and she jumped into action, immediately commissioning a Government Accountability Office report that found that what I experienced was what survivors were experiencing all over the country. And then for the last 7 years, we've worked together on the Survivors Access to Supportive Care Act to ensure national standards of care for survivors, to fund $150 million to train sexual assault nurse examiners, and to make sure that survivors know where they can get access to care. It was an honor of a lifetime to pass that bill as part of the Violence Against Women Act earlier this year. And I'm here to support Senator Murray because I know that she listens to people. I know that she cares deeply about her constituents. She showed me that care and stood by me for the last 7 years as we worked hard together to pass this legislation. So I thoroughly am appreciative of the senator and everything that she's done, both for survivors and for all other areas where she's working hard for us in the 34th. So thank you for voting yes to endorse Senator Murray.
All right, thank you, Leah. Would any member or PCO like to speak against the motion to endorse? Anyone want to speak against? All right, fantastic. So I'm going to go with, at this point, if there are no objections, are there any objections to endorsing the senator? If there are no objections, I will say the motion passes by unanimous consent, and we have endorsed Senator Murray. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to the second early endorsement. Is there a motion? Excuse me. Is there a motion to nominate for Washington Secretary of State?
I would like to nominate Interim Secretary Steve Hobbs.
Chris Porter, second.
Thank you. Rachel has nominated Steve Hobbs, our Interim Secretary of State, and Chris Porter seconded. Are there any other motions for this seat, Washington Secretary of State? Any other motions? All right, fantastic. Rachel, would you like to speak to your motion?
I can say a few words. I don't know a whole lot, but what I do know is that Steve Hobbs, who was appointed by Jay Inslee, would be the first Democrat to hold the office of Secretary of State in Washington since the mid-60s. And I was really blown away when I heard that. The fact that we have not had a Democrat hold that office for about 56 years. And so I think this is a really exciting and important opportunity to embrace that and to elect Secretary Hobbs in November so that we can have a Democrat in holding that office. The other thing about Steve Hobbs that is very valuable in my estimation is that he is the son of an immigrant and a Japanese immigrant. And I think that he will also be the first Secretary of State in Washington State who is a person of color. And I think that is extremely valuable, extremely important as we start to create a more diverse and welcoming series of leaders in our government. So those are the two things that have stood out for me. And I would like to propose that we endorse Steve Hobbs.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Is there any member or PCO who'd like to speak against the motion to endorse Steve Hobbs for Washington Secretary of State? Anyone would like to speak against the motion? Okay, awesome. You guys are making it easy on me. Are there any objections to endorsing Steve Hobbs? Any objections? All right, well, hearing no objections, the motion passes by unanimous consent and Steve Hobbs has been endorsed. Thank you all. That was quick and easy. We didn't even have to get the polls out. All right, fantastic. So we are ready now for our first presentation. Many of you will remember that we had a presentation from Skylink back, I believe, in February. At the time, we're trying to get it to where we would have someone from Sound Transit in that same presentation so we could kind of, see both sides of the story. Couldn't work that out. So we had some tenacious folks working, and we now have Carrie from Sound Transit here to speak with us tonight about I believe we're going to talk a little bit about the feasibility study, and then I'm sure there's a Q&A at the end. I have to do a hard stop at 20 minutes. So I will, at this point, hand it off to Carrie Avila.
Thank you, Carla. Good evening. Oh, no problem. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carrie Avila Mooney, and I work at Sound Transit as the Director of Regional Government and Community Relations. And this evening, I am joined by Matt Sheldon, who works in our Planning, Environment, and Project Development Department, where he's the Deputy Executive Director of Planning and Integration. And first, I want to thank you all for fitting us into your busy agenda tonight. We really appreciate the time. And then also, I'm going to thank Matt because he's on spring break on the East Coast, so it's very late there, and I'm impressed that he's awake and with us. So I would love to start with pulling up a presentation. And Matt, if you're there, I can pull up the presentation if you are prepared to walk through it. And then the presentation is only 6 slides, so we will have time for questions and answers after we go through the presentation.
Okay. And Carrie, I just gave you co-host, so you should be able to share.
Thank you very much. Great. And I do see also that someone beat me to the punch and shared the feasibility report that we're going to talk about in the chat. So thank you for that, Sarah. All right, Matt, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
You are a little quiet.
Let me see here.
That's much better.
That sounds
Thank you,
better.
Matt.
Is that doing better? Okay, and I apologize. I'm in a hotel lobby, so there is some background noise, but I'll try to speak over that.
Thank you, Matt, for taking time out.
Sure, my pleasure. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, so as Carrie's advancing the slides, I guess what I would say here is that back in late January, board member Constantine asked us to do a feasibility study of gondolas as a technology for serving West Seattle with high capacity transit. So it took us a little bit of time to do that. This work was done in-house. We have not hired consultants to do this work. So this is kind of our internal staff take, if you will. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of background. This is not the first time that Sound Transit has looked at aerial gondolas as a technology. Back in 2014, we updated our long-range plan, which is really what sets the table for what we call system plans, which are the plans that we take to the voters. And at that time, we assessed aerial gondola technology along with a number of other potential transit technologies for use as we expand the regional high capacity transit system. And at that time, we found that gondolas really weren't suitable for us to maintain and operate for expanding regional high capacity transit service in an efficient manner. They didn't really build on the existing regional high capacity transit system that was already in place or planned. And generally, they tend to operate at a local circulation level. They really don't have regional application. And even if they did, they would require significant new supporting facilities and services to operate. So with that as kind of the background, you know, the ST3 plan, which was taken to the voters in 2016 and was approved by them, did not include gondolas for those reasons. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk about three significant areas where we think gondolas may have some issues if they were to be applied as a regional high capacity transit mode. The first is really around system integration and flexibility. We don't think that gondola technology would integrate as well as light rail with the existing and expanding system. Most notably, light rail to West Seattle would directly connect West Seattle with important regional destinations such as downtown Seattle, the University of Washington, Northgate, and on to Linwood and Everett in the North Corridor. Gondolas would require transfers to reach any of those major destinations. Further, light rail can be relatively easily expanded to the south once it reaches West Seattle. Our long-range plan does include longer range plans to extend down to Delridge and the White Center area and out to Burien. Our review of gondola systems around the world really suggests that they typically are shorter. There aren't that many examples of longer systems, and the ones that we have found do include transfers kind of in the middle of the line. Next slide, please. The second area where we would have some concerns is around capacity. Our forecast for ridership in the West Seattle corridor are between 2,500 and 3,000 peak passengers per hour per direction in 2042 at the build out of the ST3 plan. Light rail can accommodate that with the planned 6-minute service that we are intending to provide. Our review suggests that gondolas typically can accommodate up to about 2,000 passengers per hour. There may be examples where more is possible, but then you're getting down to pretty short frequencies, and we feel that there could be issues with operating the service reliably if you're running a car every 10 seconds or less frequently than that. Future growth could be an issue as well. Even if gondolas could accommodate our 2042 forecast, doesn't appear there would be much opportunity to expand to deal with further demand in years beyond that. And then significantly, light rail to West Seattle plays a very important role in building out the regional high capacity transit system. That line, in concert with other lines through downtown Seattle, provides significant capacity for the entire region to move around. And if gondolas were used to just connect into downtown, that capacity would not be provided. Next line, please. Last, I think legal considerations are pretty significant here. The voter approved ST3 plan did specifically identify light rail to West Seattle. That is what the voters approved in the plan. When the plan or when the program faces challenges such as we're having now with affordability, the board does have the option to consider modifications to projects and alternatives, but they do need to try to meet that voter intent. And because of that, our legal team really feels that if we were to take gondolas forward as a technological option, that would likely require another vote of the people. And it's important to note that that would need to be a regional vote for the entire Sound Transit District, basically to replace light rail with gondolas. So those are the major reasons we think that gondolas don't hold as much promise as light rail for serving that regional high capacity transit need to West Seattle and for the rest of the region. So I'll stop there. Happy to try to answer any questions that you might have. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, we've got the questions for you. Here's our first one. Your feasibility report does not address any of the challenges in West Seattle. It focuses on regional lines, not local ones. So what will it take to get Sound Transit to hire outside experts to perform a comparative study of a Skylink gondola system and a light rail system for West Seattle?
Well, I think fundamentally it's up to our board of directors now that they have this information in hand to weigh what we have provided to them and decide, do they want to take that next step and go further and commission an outside study? I think given the challenges that we've identified and really the regional nature of what we're trying to accomplish, I think they'll weigh that pretty heavily, the local versus regional piece of this. But it's fundamentally up to them to decide if they want to do more. Carrie, do you have anything to add there?
No, you're right on that. We don't have direction or voter approved funding to study technology that, was already deemed not to move forward from our long range plan. So, and so right on, Matt.
Okay, we have another question. Now that you're considering value engineering efforts, optimizing cost and system efficiencies, will you ask the Sound Transit Board to consider a gondola? And if yes, when? And if no, why not?
Well, I think we just answered the why not. So no, we don't have any intention of asking the board to consider gondolas as a cost savings measure or a value engineering measure. There are a number of other cost savings ideas for the approved light rail line that are being developed at the moment. And I'm not the expert on those, but I know that the EIS has started to talk about some of those, and there will be further work coming to the board in coming months to show them what those options look like.
I would add to that as well, given the legal feasibility of switching technologies, there would be a significant time penalty. Sorry, Hank's weighing in. A significant time penalty to go back to the voters to change what they have already approved in Sound Transit 3. So it's another reason why it wouldn't fit into the conversation about value engineering.
We have another question. Why would you not see a gondola system as a spur option supporting multimodal transportation challenged by the unique geographic qualities specific to West Seattle? You mentioned the thing about the point that it would require a transfer. Why is transferring from bus to light rail acceptable, but transferring from a gondola system to light rail not acceptable?
I don't think it's a matter of acceptability. I think it's a matter of where you can provide direct service as light rail would to those major regional destinations. That is preferable to forcing a transfer. So significantly, I think, connecting West Seattle directly into downtown and onto the University of Washington and points north is a key feature of what the voters asked for, if you will, with approving light rail to West Seattle. It's not to say that gondolas couldn't have a place in a transit system for the region, but it's not a regional high capacity system that Sound Transit is here to provide.
Another question, did you find any positive possibilities with a gondola system?
Well, I think the report talks to a few areas where gondolas have some advantages. I think fare collection was one of them. But, our job here was not to try to figure out whether gondolas were the right thing to do elsewhere in the system. What we were asked to do was compare the gondola proposal that the board has been approached with to what the voters have approved with light rail and try to do a compare and contrast on that.
We have another question here. We're noticing that you're ignoring the up to 6,000 passenger per hour capacity achieved by multimodal systems elsewhere in the world. What makes you stick on a 2,000 passenger per hour number?
Well, in the time we had to do research here, what we found was a typical capacity of around 2,000 passengers per hour per direction. It's not to say there may not be systems that can exceed that. There may be systems that are running significantly below that. But we have not had a chance to, dig in and see if exactly 6,000 is a sustainable number that has enough evidence behind it that we could bank on it. Whereas we are very confident in the capacity that we know we could provide with light rail based on existing design and the system that we're operating today and our ability to operate that.
Another question, why was no embedded carbon calculation done as part of the draft EIS? Since a gondola system is inherently less carbon intense than a concrete and steel system of posts and guideways, the comparative evaluation is critical to have public confidence in the EIS.
Carrie, I might look to you for that one. You've been a little more involved in the Link EIS than I have.
Yes, and I will have to get back to you about that. I am not familiar with the details of the carbon evaluation, the climate pollution evaluation done in the draft EIS. So I would have to get back to you on that. I can't speak to what's in there on that topic.
Carrie, then if you could be sure to put your contact information in the chat before you all leave tonight, that would be great so people know how to get in touch with you. We have another question here. This audience member is concerned if you're not digging into the numbers and you don't have the personnel on board who are expert in this area, what keeps Sound Transit from hiring outside experts to do a legitimate comparison study?
Well, first of all, we think that the study we have done hits the high points of where there are weaknesses in the gondola technology. As we said earlier, it would be up to our board to say that or direct us to go do additional work or hire outside consultants. We're happy to do that if that's what they choose to do. I think fundamentally, though, the legal question is a difficult one to surmount, given that we would have to go back to the voters to change the technology decision for West Seattle that was selected and approved back in 2016.
Okay, so we have two more things, and I think we have just a couple more minutes left. Carla, what are we looking at for time remaining on this? Carla?
Hello, sorry. I'm having dog issues today, just like Carrie. I was on mute. Let's take Chris's hand raised question next. He's had his hand up for a bit, and then one more after that.
Okay, that's exactly what we've got here. So Chris, go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm curious because gondolas everywhere else in the world, our neighbors down south in Portland, Mexico, Italy, Spain, you name it, have really perfected this. So I'm curious that the report seems rather, I should say, shy about the use of gondola when there is a lot of world technology that really supports this. It seems that when it comes to putting this in West Seattle, one of the STP3s and even the monorail's shortfalls was being able to show mitigation in protection of streams and trees and things that are and habitats that are important to us here in West Seattle. And I didn't hear you talk about that, and yet that seems to always be the stumbling point in a form of transportation coming in and out of West Seattle. And I thought the initial report on gondolas showed that it had a better mitigation around trees and stream protection and habitat protection.
Well, I'm not quite sure what report you're referring to, but I think, if folks wanted to look more closely at gondolas, it would need to go through a full environmental review process, very much like light rail has. As Carrie mentioned before, given that the voters had approved light rail for West Seattle, that is what we have spent our effort on to this point, several years, and a lot of dollars, a lot of community engagement up to this point. If the board so chose, they could ask us to go back and do the same for gondolas, but they have not done that at this point. And as Carrie noted, there would be time and dollar impacts to go back and do that work.
I'm going to just jump in with this last question here, because we do have quite a few members of this organization and in West Seattle who are concerned and who have done quite a bit of research as far as the details, the dollars, the impacts environmentally. Sound Transit is spending $4 million, says one of our audience members, $4 million on a consultant to find ways to save money, while a $200,000 gondola study could potentially save $2 billion in West Seattle. From an economic perspective, wouldn't it make sense to save public money?
Well, the dollars that are being quoted for doing that additional work, we haven't seen any of the details of where the 200,000 number came from. We haven't seen any of the details about the claims of lower capital cost and faster construction. That may be out there, but we haven't been privy to that information. So, I think if folks wanted to take that conversation forward, they would need to show a lot more of that work to the board, frankly, so that they would have the benefit of that as they're thinking about how to move forward on this.
Okay, well, here's what I would like to encourage all of our members, because it seems like we have lots of folks who would like to be in touch. If folks do have access to some of these numbers and some of this research that you have done, again, we've got Matt and Carrie, who, if you would be sure to put your contact information in the chat before you leave. I think we've got folks here who can send you information, who can send you reports, research, data, if that is something that you need to understand where these folks in our audience are coming from. So I will leave that. Because Carla, I think are we at time here pretty quick? Okay, we are at time. But Carrie and Matt, thank you very much for coming. And again, please do put your contact information so that folks can contact you with further questions or information that they may have that you are looking for. And we really appreciate you being here. Thanks again for coming and sharing your time with us tonight.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt and Carrie. We really appreciate you coming out specifically to talk to us in the 34th. I know you guys have been holding some other hearings, and I know you've had a lot of our members there championing this gondola idea. I know we have a very active and very passionate environmental focused caucus that I know is a big supporter of this. So thank you for taking our tough questions, and appreciate your time all the way around. So thanks again. All right, we're going to move over. Let's see. Next up, we've been asked by our friends at PSARA, which is Puget Sound Advocates for Retirement Action, by the way. to consider supporting them and supporting their efforts in an initiative around Medicare. So I want to hand off to Roxanne to introduce our presenters. After this presentation, we will be taking a vote on a resolution around the around this initiative. So pay attention. And we do again have a hard stop of 15 minutes. So need to keep that in mind as well.
Okay, we have two organizations working to stop the privatization of Medicare, which is already well underway. They are Physicians for a National Health Program, and as Carla noted, the Puget Sound Advocates for Retirement Action. We have two advocates with us tonight. Both are members of the 34th Legislative District. David McClanahan is a UW Clinical Associate Professor of Surgery Emeritus, who worked for 30 years with Pacific Medical Center and other medical centers in our area. He cared for Medicare patients, and he's also the co-founder and coordinator of the Physicians for a National Health Program, Washington chapter, and a member of our Healthcare Caucus. Karen Richter is a retired public servant who worked for transportation as a transportation planner and manager, including working with the Puget Sound Regional Council. She's co-president of the Puget Sound Advocates for Retirement Action, a board member of the 34th, and the outreach co-chair. And I'm going to hand it over to Karen or David, whoever is going to speak first, and also invite everyone here to join our Healthcare Caucus, because currently our healthcare is under assault in our state and at the national level. So David or Karen, go from there.
Thank you, Roxanne. I'll go first. For those of you that are new to PSARA, briefly, we work across generations for social justice, economic security, dignity, and a healthy planet for all of us. We advocate to preserve and expand Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and that's why David and I are here tonight. During the Trump administration, they created a plan to privatize traditional Medicare. And it's through a pilot program called direct contracting. The direct contracting pilot was launched in 2019 by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. And the administration used this pilot to avoid the formal rulemaking process. As a result, the new direct contracting program has never been subject to public comment, public scrutiny, and there is absolutely no congressional oversight. It hands control of traditional Medicare beneficiaries' healthcare to third-party middlemen called direct contracting entities. So here's an acronym I'm going to use for a little while here called DCEs. So the DCEs include firms that are controlled by commercial insurers, for-profit hospitals, private equity investors, hedge funds, and often these entities have no meaningful medical experience whatsoever. They are paid a fee to manage the healthcare delivery to beneficiaries that are enrolled in traditional Medicare. And there is no knowledge and consent to do this by the beneficiaries. The results then are increased costs to the Medicare Trust Fund, because the DCEs can retain the fees that Medicare pays them per person to cover administrative costs and then pocket what the surplus is. This gives the DCEs the incentive to cut costs by denying procedures, upcode to make private patients seem sicker than they are. And they do this in order to receive higher Medicare fees and other ways that they can think of to profit the money. Under Trump, the agency even issued a waiver that exempts DCEs from the anti-kickback rules that normally prohibit doctors from entering their patients into such for-profit plans. As a result, doctors can be compensated to involuntarily enter their patients into DCE programs. Again, involuntary. Patients have no idea that this is happening. They have never given their consent. Or they don't even understand that it's happening. So you might wonder, how do DCEs then make a profit? As far as the DCE might be concerned, For instance, 3 physical therapy sessions might be required, or that's all they deem as being medically necessary after a hip replacement, even though more might be needed and are prescribed by the beneficiary's doctor. Likewise, a DCE may decide that a plain old X-ray will suffice when the treating physician determines that an MRI is required, and then they can pocket the difference. Of note, last January, Representative Jayapal sent a letter signed by more than 50 members of Congress to Health and Human Services Secretary Becerra, demanding that these direct contracting program be terminated. The Physicians for a National Health Care Program provided excellent testimony to Congress and submitted a letter to Secretary Becerra, signed by more than 13,000 physicians around the country, demanding its termination. Other organizations did the same thing, and the pressure worked. Secretary Becerra announced that the direct contracting program would be terminated effective the end of this December. So this should have been a celebration. However, the Trump pilot was rebranded and called ACO REACH. And this means Accountable Care Organizations Realizing Equity, Access, and Community Health, and that it would begin January 1st, 2023. So when you look at it, the new title states a goal of addressing equity. So we talked to public health officials around the country about that, and they've looked at both the direct contracting program and the renamed ACO REACH model, and they see very little difference between the two. They see nothing in the ACO REACH program that spells out such a systematic way to address the real inequities suffered by BIPOC individuals, BIPOC communities, and other underserved areas. Each plan can address inequity however it chooses to, with virtually no oversight to determine if it actually does anything at all. In fact, experts say that a much better way to address historic under-resourcing of BIPOC healthcare is through the expansion of Medicare, rather than opening the doors to middlemen and private equity entities. Expanded Medicare would include expanding dental, well, actually including dental, vision, and hearing, and allow the negotiation of drug prices. And it would ensure hospitals and services in rural and other underserved communities would be financially viable. So both pilot programs continue to allow third-party entities to wedge themselves between patients and their doctors, and to draw down the Medicare trust fund by making huge profits. Patients will continue to be swept into the ACE REACH programs without their knowledge and consent. Payment to ACE REACH will continue to be a set amount per person and per service, as with not as per service as with traditional Medicare. Again, this incentivizes the ACE REACH entity to restrict services and keep the Medicare payments for themselves as profits. Of note, by 2028, annual Medicare spending is estimated to be $1.6 trillion, which is a major motivation by Wall Street to buy up hospitals, physicians' practices, and other healthcare entities. We received, recently we learned that the Polyclinic has now been purchased by Optum, which is owned by United Healthcare, the largest insurer in the country. Medicare beneficiaries choose traditional Medicare because they do not want a third-party entity impacting the decisions made between their healthcare provider and the beneficiary. The DCE program and ACO REACH program violates that choice that millions of Medicare beneficiaries have made. So we are asking organizations to pass resolutions and sign on to letters to our Washington US senators and congressional delegations, and to Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary Becerra, requesting that these programs be terminated. Also, what we are asking is if you belong or know of an organization that would like to join us in our campaign, please let David and me know, and maybe I'll put my information in the chat and you can contact us there. So I know time is short, so David and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Thank you very much, Karen, for presenting. Let me just see if.
So real quick, Rachel, let me say something to
You bet. Sure, Carla.
We just put in the link to the resolution that we're going to be reviewing here in a moment. So just want to call that out if anybody wants to actually look at that hasn't already, as we take questions.
Okay, so again, anyone who has questions, please feel free to direct message me in the chat, and I will share the questions out to the group.
Let me just say that Karen has done a great job laying out why supporting this resolution should be a slam dunk for anyone against privatization of Medicare into a for-profit Wall Street cash cow.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
I would like to add one more thing too. This is
Sure,
Roxanne.
Sure, go ahead, Roxanne.
Traditionally, Medicare has charged anywhere from 1% to 3% to manage Medicare. And the private entities are going to be allowed to charge up to 40% to manage your Medicare. So you, as Karen noted, we're going to lose a lot of services if that happens.
Chris Porter, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
I was struck by, thank you. I was struck by the Medicare premiums collect more than $700 billion, 12% of our federal budget annually. And you didn't really speak to that because that really gets at some of the heart of the greed behind privatization, that there is a tremendous amount of money at stake here, but that money translates to services that go down, as someone pointed out about the 40% profit margin if privatization happens, which is what private insurance companies have. And I'm just wondering if you could better highlight that what's at stake is we forget the tremendous amount of money that's generated through premiums around Medicare and our federal budget. And taxes too, our federal payroll taxes.
Well, Medicare uses about 3% or so of its funds in the Medicare trust for administrative, and there's no profit involved there. Medicare Advantage plans have 15% of that pot that they use for their overhead and their profit for their mostly for-profit Medicare Advantage plans. The DCEs get a 40%, up to 40%, I should say. Not all of them, reach that level, but they can get up to 40% for their overhead, and what's left over from their overhead and what they pay out for actual services is left for profit. And when all this stink came out 3 or 4 months ago and organizations around the country worked against it, the for-profit people had to backtrack a little bit and rename it and put lipstick on the pig by calling it the ACO REACH program and putting the word equity in there. But as Karen pointed out, there's really no equity oversight within that. So that's what's happening to that money that we put away from our salaries for years and years of working into the Medicare trust. So we definitely need to stop this. And I think when people are finding out about this, and the CMS people behind this said that they want to have everybody in this DCE type program by 2030. So traditional Medicare would just be over with by 2030 for everyone. But I think that's not going to happen because people are outraged when finding out about this.
I have another question here from the audience. Why would the Biden administration even consider continuing ACO REACH?
It's a very good question. That's why we are doing what we're doing, is to find out.
So put a pin in that. We'll hold our breath to wait and see what we hear.
Well, the Biden administration did end what's called the GEO program, which was a type of DCE which everybody within an area would be automatically aligned with it. Say the city of Seattle, everybody within this geographic area would be automatically within that. But that was so onerous that even Biden, said that can't happen. So then it morphed into this other thing.
Okay, do we have any final questions here? We have just a couple of more minutes. Thank you, Karen, for putting your contact information there. If anyone thinks of any questions, thinks of anything, maybe after this evening that they wanted to ask, please feel free to contact Karen Richter. Her contact info is in the chat, so you would be able to send your questions to her and she can get back to you. Yes, David.
One final thing, PNHP Washington, my chapter here, has a meeting a week from tonight on Wednesday. The topic is how to rebut arguments in favor of DCE's ACO REACH by Ed Weisbart, who's the national authority of that, and I'll put that link in the chat.
Thank you. That would be great. Yes, any information so that we here as an organization know how to get in touch with you or get involved. Is there any, we're obviously going to be voting on this resolution, but is there anything else that we could be doing as community members to have our voices heard? Is there certain places or people to target that can get highest effect possible on what we want?
I would suggest joining the Healthcare Caucus and work with our other folks who are involved in that. That would be my recommendation.
Spoken like a true chair.
Also, David, I believe that the PNHP, Physicians for a National Health Program, have a petition that you can sign on their website. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of organizations that are working against this that have petitions. And I think PASARA has one that's going to go to our congressional representatives and maybe city council and CMS.
And also letters to our senators. Pramila Jayapal is already on board, but that always helps a great deal too. Oh, I just received a text. It looks like the Seattle City Council is going to introduce our resolution on the 26th of April. So that'll be a big deal too.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry, Rachel. We do need to get moving. I've got a whole other presentation to do before the end of the night. So we got to get to this resolution. If we want to sign on to it, we got to get to it. So
I move to adopt the resolution from PSARA as written.
Okay. Sorry, let me let Bunny do her role. Bunny, would you like to just remind us what we're voting on, please?
Sure. We're considering a resolution to stop privatizing our Medicare system. And we've just had a presentation on how essential the Medicare system is and how dangerous the attempt is to shift scarce Medicare funds from patient care to the profit of equity firms, insurance companies, and healthcare corporations. This resolution asks members of the 34th to go on record opposing this kind of privatization of Medicare and to terminate the ACO REACH program. It also asks us to notify our legislators of this action. This resolution has passed through the Healthcare Caucus, the Endorsements and Resolutions Committee, and the Executive Board to be presented to you here tonight. So I move that the membership of the 34th Legislative District Democrats adopt this resolution as presented.
Sarah Koch, second.
Awesome.
Thank you. Normally we would have someone speak for the resolution, and I would cede that time to Karen Richter or to Dave.
Well, I would like to suggest that we've heard already why we should support this, if that's okay with everyone.
That's fine.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody else have any issues with that? I think we've got the gist of it, and
And we don't have a speaker against?
Yes. Anyone want to speak against adopting this resolution? All right. I am just because I want to on this one I do want to be official. I'm going to pop a poll up, and please go ahead. Again, it's for members who have joined this year and PCOs only. Go ahead and take that poll really quick, just so we have an official record that we are all on board with this. I'll leave it open for 30 seconds or so. Please cast your vote. 27 of 42. Okay, getting up there. All right, it's a very highly, we do have one no vote. Oh, sorry, no, we do not have a no vote, my bad. We have 100% of voting, so I will end this poll and we will move forward as adopted, and you can also imply our support for the initiative in general with this resolution. So PSARA team, count us in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, both of you, David, as well, for speaking with us tonight. So I'm going to just do a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to switch over to our final presentation on ranked choice voting. Let me get back over to my screen. There was the resolution. Okay, here we are. All right. First, we'll talk for a couple minutes on convention. As I mentioned earlier, this is an issues convention. I want to thank all those who volunteered to participate in both the caucus process and the convention itself. This is where the action happens, and I love that we filled all of our original 32 seats. Rachel Glass, as I mentioned, killed it on recruiting. So we met our affirmative action goals and made Chris Porter look good at the state. And we were awarded an additional 4 delegates. So 36 delegates. We are taking that delegation in, and we have already started our work. Only 5 districts out of 49 in the state made those goals. So thanks again to Rachel. The delegation met this past Sunday, and we have a process in place for our first area of work, which is the platform amendments. We are actually allowed a platform amendment per delegate. And with our automatic delegates, which are our electeds, myself, Rachel, Chris, and Roxanne, we actually have 44 platform amendments. And this is really where we get to raise our voice and impact the platform at the state level. So please submit any platform amendments on the form we've provided on our website. It's also been in the email, and Sarah has put it in the chat. It's a simple form. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We do have to follow the process and put the platform amendments into the form, because this is a big thing we've got to do, and a lot of coordination and sorting of all of this information and data is coming in, and we don't have the bandwidth to kind of take emails and stuff like that and process it ourselves. So I really need you to use the form on the website. Again, the link is in the chat for you, and it'll be in it'll be on the homepage. The deadline is actually Saturday night at midnight. So please get those in as quickly as possible. They did not give us a whole lot of time to do this. And we have to sort through the proposals to select the ones that we want to go with. And we need a few days to do that as a delegation. So please do that as soon as you can. Again, our actual state deadline is the 25th. So again, not a whole lot of time to get this done. Then we're going to switch gears to our 2 resolution submissions. As a delegation, we have 2 resolutions that we're able to pass along to that to the state for consideration. If you have a resolution that you'd like to submit, or you want to suggest that one of the resolutions that we've already passed this year, push that one through, please hang on to it and be ready. I'm going to be publishing that process in a form later on this month, probably after this weekend, depending on how fast I get to it. Again, it will have a little process. There'll be a form submission, but you can attach, your resolution to that and submit it very easy, very quick process. We have to have our resolutions submitted to the state by May 25th. So I will bring this up again in our next meeting. We do have more time on the resolutions. So any delegates out there, thank you for stepping up to be a delegate, but also if you weren't available for the Sunday meeting, please engage with us. Look for your emails from myself or from the state. It's hard when we have to rely on email, because I know not everyone looks at their email, and I know sometimes emails land in spam, and it's not super easy, but it's really the only way for us to communicate as a group because we're so large. So look for those emails. Our next meeting, again, for delegates is Monday evening. And I will be sending over the link for that before the end of this week. Again, you can reach out to myself, Rachel, or Ann Martin. Sarah's going to put those addresses in the chat. If you need help, need support, have questions, please reach out. All right, next thing, you may have noticed in the newsletter and then soon on the website, our bylaws and our rules committee has prepared an updated version of our bylaws for your consideration. Much of what's in this revision is cleanup and reformatting and kind of bringing up to current process, but there are a couple of material changes in there. We encourage everyone, obviously, as a member, to be aware of our bylaws. They are our guiding principles, how we work, how we operate as an organization. And if you are interested in learning what we put in there, it's all available for you. There's a web page that links you to the current, the proposed, and then kind of an edited version that is color coding the changes. It's hopefully will be really easy for you to review. We will be reviewing these next month at our May meeting. So fun times. We have to get through these bylaws. It's just part of being an organization, and I hope you all will have patience as we get through them. And thank you to Sarah and her team. Sarah, the person that does the emails, also is our bylaws chair. Our next pop-up social will be held next Friday, April 2nd, from 5:30 to 8. We're going to the bridge this time, which is near Morgan Junction. I'm hoping we can go outside. That would be awesome, but based on the current weather, not so much. But please consider coming out and hanging out with us, working to get one of our electeds to attend. If you're comfortable out in public, this is a great way to engage and talk politics. Last month, we had Fitzgibbon attend, and he was able to chat with a whole bunch of members, and we're getting more and more people every month at these events, which makes me super happy. So mark that on your calendar, April 22nd. Our next meeting is the 11th of May, 6:30. We will have, that is obviously our deadline for anyone new joining the membership who wants to vote on endorsements. Again, renewals will have till June 7th, but any new members need to be joined by that meeting. Our next board meeting is April 20th from 7:30 to 8:30, and you can join us if you'd like to. Just let me know. It is a Zoom call. Lastly, I am forming our endorsements committee. This committee will help us put that meeting on. It takes a village. Last year I had Jordan Crowley, Trey, and Sarah as well behind me, making that thing look smooth on Zoom, and we got to do it again. Might be a little easier this year. We don't have quite as many to go through, but I still need that help. So if you're a little technical, if you can handle, Google and Zoom and those kinds of things in the background, that would be really helpful if you could participate in putting these on. We may also be looking at doing one candidate forum. Not quite there yet with figuring out what we want to do, but the board and I will be talking about it next week. And so you'll hear about that at the May meeting. All right. Again, as always, let me know if you have any questions, if you're interested in getting involved in any of the things that I babble about in these meetings. All right. So last up,
Carla?
Yes.
I just wanted to remind people about platform, that amendments are both additions and subtractions, that you don't have to come up with something completely new and different. Read the platform carefully, and you may use your amendment privilege to say, I would like to remove this plank.
That's true.
Because there could be a lot of things in there that are repetitive or extraneous. We don't have to make the document weigh 100 pounds.
Bunny, you thank you for chiming in, and I see a couple more hands, which I'll call on you in just a moment. Bunny makes me remember that I did not announce that Bunny is our platform representative to the state convention committee. Ann Martin is our rules representative, and Zach Ricketts is our credentials representative. So Bunny is the perfect person to promote and cheerlead about platform. So thanks, Bunny, for bringing that up. Elizabeth, do you have a hand? Elizabeth?
Hi, I put the question in chat. The amendment that I want to propose to the platform is not an addition to a plank or a section. It creates a new section.
Yep.
But the form says I'm to specify which plank or which section. So how do I work around that?
Can I answer that for you, Elizabeth?
Let's not answer it, Rachel, please. Let's not answer it. Let's take it offline. Okay.
I did. I
And
just
we've
wanted
got 15 minutes.
I just wanted to tell her that I sent her in the chat a response to that.
Okay,
So just
thank you.
check that out.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you. Chris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you for lauding the efforts and the work that Rachel has done, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't remember and point out that diversity and inclusion obviously continues to be a priority of the membership, and that in large accounts for why we were one of the 5 LDs that stood out, because we remain true to those commitments we made several years ago about diversity, equity, and inclusion around elections, around who gets to sit at the table. And so I just don't want this moment to go without recognizing the work and the priority that the folks who gave the votes did in making that a priority in our district.
Thank you, Chris. All right, now we're ready for Sam. Our last presentation tonight is about ranked choice voting. We had a presentation about approval voting earlier this year, but this is a little different. We always want to have you have the information you need to, inform your decisions, inform your voting and your choices. So Rachel, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Thank you, Carla. Yes. So this final presentation is going to come from 2 representatives of Fair Vote Washington. Fair Vote Washington is a nonpartisan, nonprofit, volunteer-driven champion of electoral reforms like ranked choice voting that give voters greater choice, a stronger voice, and a more civil representative democracy that works for all Americans. Tonight we will hear from Sam Pereira. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Sam. He is they are the organizer with Fair Vote Washington, in charge of field organizing and volunteer relationship. Kit, I apologize. I don't want to butcher your name either. Mulman. Sorry.
Good enough.
I'm so sorry. Kit is head of speakers team and coordinates presentations as well as giving many herself, and you will see one of them tonight. So may I introduce, let's give a warm welcome to Sam and Kit.
Thank you so much, Rachel. All right, Kit, you want to go ahead and share your screen and we'll take it away?
Sure. Well, I want to introduce myself first. I'm from Bellingham, and I've only been here since 8 o'clock, but you all are doing such fabulous work. Thank you. This is a huge LD. And so I wasn't very involved in politics until fairly recently. I noticed how ugly and toxic national politics had gotten, and it was so bad I wasn't able to sleep. Then I remembered ranked choice voting, and I saw what that could be a systemic change in our elections, and I saw how many ways that could make elections better. So I've been volunteering with Fair Vote Washington ever since then, and it helps me sleep. So that's me. And with me is Sam Pereira. Would you like to introduce yourself and say where you're
Sure
from?
thing. Yeah. So my name's Sam Pereira. I go by they, them pronouns. I am initially from Jacksonville, Florida, but I've been here in Washington State for about 4.5 years. Been an organizer since 2012, and I first learned about ranked choice voting in the past 2020 election when I got to experience it on the ground in Maine when we were attempting to unseat Susan Collins. We didn't do it, but I got introduced to ranked choice voting. I got the bug, and I joined up with this organization once I got back to Washington. So let's go ahead and give that presentation.
Let's I am done these before, but I'm not quite on the screen. There we go. I know you all are trying to get out of here. We're just going to give an introduction. There's lots more than we're able to say tonight, but hopefully this will be a good start. We're going to give a short description of ranked choice voting, have a demo election, and talk about the benefits, and we'll hopefully have a few minutes for questions. So what is ranked choice voting, Sam?
Well, ranked choice voting is really simple. With ranked choice voting, you can rank the candidates you want, first choice, second choice, etc. You pick your first choice candidate just like usual, and then you have the option to rank backup candidates in the order you prefer them. If your first choice comes in last, your vote automatically goes to your next choice. So let's take a look at a potential ranked choice voting ballot. Ranked choice voting is a simple change to the way that we vote that gives voters a stronger, more nuanced voice in our elections. With RCV, you rank the candidates in order of your preference, first choice, second choice, and so on. Our voter here ranked spring first, summer second, fall third, and winter last. This voter knows that if spring comes in last and gets eliminated, their vote will go to summer in the next round. If you think about it, we do this all the time. My friends have a favorite type of donut, but if they're sold out, they have second and third choices. That's ranked choice voting.
So now we have a sample election for you to participate in. Sam's going to put the link to the ballot in the chat, and the candidates are water sports, sightseeing, garden tour, hiking, and ferry rides. And you might even go to San Juan Island, where there is an initiative, or not a ballot measure in November for ranked choice voting. So I'll leave the pictures up for just a minute so you can think about what would be your first choice for a summer activity. And what would be your second choice? In a ranked choice election, you don't have to rank all the choices if you only like 3 and would never dream of getting on a paddleboard. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if it looks like people are voting. Are people voting?
I'm sorry, where do we vote?
Okay, yeah, sorry, down at the bottom of the screen where there's chat, if you go, there's a little bubble, like a speech bubble that says chat, and you click on the chat and there should be all the chats that have happened, and you scroll down to the very bottom of the chats. There should be a link that says RCV tally.
Yeah, I put RCV election in
Okay,
front of it.
yeah, I see it. Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Could you also just repeat, I need the instructions one more time.
Yes. So you'll have a ballot in the first column, column 1, you'll put a check next to your first choice activity. And in column 2, a check for your second choice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great.
Looks like the votes are pouring in. We'll give people
I see the
another,
votes coming in. Yes.
about another 10, 15 seconds.
All right. It's looking good. So you can keep voting if you like, if you need to. I'm going to start sharing my screen though with the results. So close out of your window and see a few more votes still coming in. Oh, it looks like we have 58 votes now, which is more than we have people here. So we haven't been stuffing the ballot box. We've used this election before, once before. So we've been collecting votes. So in ranked choice voting, we're looking for a candidate to get more than 50% of the votes. This green dotted line on the right indicates the 50% mark. That would be 29 votes would be 50%. We want a candidate to go over that. We have 5 candidates and the votes are split between the 5 candidates. And in this round 1, none of the candidates have more than 50%. Hiking has 40%, which is pretty good, but 60% of the people voted for something else as their first choice. So to find a consensus candidate, we're going to look for the last place candidate, which is sightseeing with 9%. So sightseeing doesn't have a chance to win. So sorry, sightseeing, but the voters who chose sightseeing for their first choice now get their second choice counted. So I'm going to click this arrow on the right and go to round 2, and we'll see where those 5 voters, what those 5 voters chose for their second choice. Oh my gosh, they just about split right down the middle amongst the other 4 candidates. So we still don't have a 50% winner. So we're looking for the last place candidate, which is garden tour. So these 7 votes will go to the next choice on those ballots. I'll go to the next round. We're eliminating garden tour, but not the people who voted for garden tour. Oh, so this is not quite, hiking is not quite there.
This is a good one.
It is a good one. Good job, you guys. So now Washington Ferries is in last place. We'll have to eliminate Washington Ferries. And the Washington Ferry voters will get their second choice. These voters, the garden tour and sightseeing people, are going to go to their third choice candidate, but they still get a voice. So hiking was way over the line. So that's wonderful. So even though hiking was in first place to begin with, now we know that if it was just between those 2 candidates, that hiking would be a clear winner. And now hiking has a mandate now. I'll go back briefly. Here we are in the first round, and no 50%, we'll eliminate sightseeing. You can follow your own vote too. So if your first choice vote was one of the top 4, you're in the same place where you started. If you were a sightseeing first choice, you're now at your second choice. And then we'll go to round 3. It took all 4 rounds, didn't it?
I know. I feel
Yeah.
like I haven't seen one that took that many rounds in a
All
minute.
4 rounds.
Mhm.
Great. Okay, good job, you guys. And now we'll go to quickly, just a few of the benefits. There's so many benefits.
Yes, there are a lot, but I'll try to cover just a couple right quick. So with ranked choice voting, you get more choices and more voices. Because you have backup choices, you can vote your favorite candidate for your first choice without fear that you're throwing your vote away or helping the candidate you like least. More voices are in the conversation because people are encouraged to run for office without fear of being labeled a spoiler. This also makes elections friendlier to newcomers. With RCV, we see more civil, issues-focused campaigns. Because a candidate needs over 50% to win, mudslinging and negative campaigning aren't rewarded. A winning candidate will probably need some second choice votes, and it's not a good idea to alienate supporters of candidates who are close to you. Candidates need broad support to win a ranked choice election, and usually that means less polarizing campaigns. Additionally, there are savings in terms of costs and time. Holding one ranked choice election instead of a primary and a general election saves money and time. Saving money for taxpayers, it also means lawmakers can spend more time doing their jobs instead of campaigning.
So now up to this point, we've been talking about an election, a ranked choice election that chooses one winner, like a mayor or a governor. And we want you to be aware of one other important way that ranked choice voting is used. It's called proportional ranked choice voting. And Cambridge, Massachusetts has been using it since 1941. That's 80 years this year. So here's how they do it in Cambridge. The candidates for all the seats run together in a pool. So instead of electing each council member in a separate race, instead of drawing districts, they all run together on a ranked choice ballot. And the voters rank their choices, and the top candidates get seats on the council. So what this does is to ensure proportional representation. Usually over 90% of the voters get at least one council member that they ranked in their top 3 choices. And that shows voters that their vote matters. And as the city votes on the pool of candidates as a whole, there's no drawing districts, no arm wrestling about district lines, and gerrymandering can't happen. So if you love learning about voting methods, we recommend the YouTube videos of CGP Grey. He did the video down in the right-hand corner called Politics in the Animal Kingdom. It uses proportional ranked choice voting, also called STV. And Sam will put that link in the chat.
Yep, it is there right now.
Thanks. So, and if you'd like to learn more about ranked choice voting, please visit our website and sign up for Why Ranked Choice Voting Works. We offer it twice a month, and our website also has resources such as articles and podcasts and more events like phone banks and chapter meetings. And we'd love to see you again.
I'm going to put links to those events in the chat. So we have the Why Ranked Choice Voting Works, the events page, and then 3 different phone banks if you're enthusiastic about perhaps volunteering for ranked choice voting. For phone banking, it's very easy. You come and you get trained. It takes about 10 minutes. We give you a script. We give you the people to call, everything. And it's simple and it's honestly pretty fun. So I'll drop the phone bank links in the chat. And then with the very limited time left, we can take question maybe or 2. I'm not sure, Carla, how are we feeling about it running over by?
We are at the end of our agenda, so we can take whatever amount of questions people have.
Sure. I saw Ted asked a question. Kit, so what do you say to this? Ted said, so I can assume a hand recount of this process is not possible?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it is. In fact, Minneapolis has been counting their ranked choice voting ballots by hand. It's not as fast as using machines, but yes, a hand recount is definitely possible.
Mm-hmm. And then Carla asked, assuming this is just for the primary, so would you be selecting the top two? So what does RCV do with primaries again?
Well, it depends on how you decide to do it. And in the bill that we've been promoting in the legislature, all the primary and general would be in one election. As long as there are 5 candidates or fewer, we just vote the once in the general election. If there's a provision, so if there are more than 5 candidates, such as, you know, when Seattle votes for a mayor, or when we have governor, that we would have a winnowing primary. In the first primary would be a ranked choice election, and it would winnow the field down to 5 candidates, and then those 5 candidates would go to the general election for another ranked choice election, so that people wouldn't have to. I mean, that would be a lot to have to rank. What it is, you all have so many. It's wonderful though to have that many people interested. Yes, I see Melvin's hand up.
No, that was just an applause.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
So Alaska's doing something different. They are having a regular primary, and they have, what do they have? 48 candidates, something like that. And they're going to take the top 4 vote getters, just so I'm going to count up the votes one round, and those 4 vote getters will go to the general election and have a ranked choice election in the general.
Do we have any other questions?
I will just, I will stop typing and just ask it. How does your group, I'm starting to get confused about where approval voting is and where this ranked choice voting is, as far as initial, any initiatives coming up, any ballot measures that might be coming up around both of those, and how do you feel about the approval voting, and would you support that?
Well, they're different methods. They're both better than what we're using now. We'll say that. One thing that approval voting's been used in 2 places in the country, in Fargo, North Dakota, and or is that South Dakota? Anyway, Fargo and in St. Louis. And what we find in places that use approval voting is that people discover quite quickly that when they vote for a second candidate, when they approve a second candidate, that weakens their support for their first candidate. And it generally moves towards the way we vote now. And they have, what is it, a ballot initiative coming up. And Fair Vote Washington has 2 ballot initiatives in Clark County and San Juan County for use in those 2 counties, because they are nonpartisan charter counties and can decide on their own election method. For most of the state, we need a law that allows ranked choice voting, and that's been what we call the local options bill. And that didn't make it through the legislature this year. It got farther than ever before, and we'll be bringing it back next year. Also a bill to introduce ranked choice voting for presidential primaries. So if you have a crowded primary field, then people can have a second choice or a third choice, so that if their candidate drops out before the election day, their vote will still count.
Great.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat. If anybody's interested in getting more involved with ranked choice voting, go ahead and shoot me an email, and we will talk about how you can help get ranked choice voting here in Washington.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would love to have the information, Rachel, for the Programs Hub. Maybe we put, this up there as well. So we have that information out there for our membership.
You talking about the information I just sent to you the other day, yesterday?
I was just pointing out to them that we'll put it up on the Hub. Yep.
Oh, great. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Great.
If we don't have any other questions, Kit and Sam, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and being so patient to wait. It took a little longer to get to you guys, folks tonight. So thank you so much for being here. And anyone from the membership, if you have any questions, feel free to contact Sam or Kit, and they will certainly be able to answer your questions. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Sam and Kit. Appreciate your time.
Love what you're doing. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Well, with that, we kind of come to the end of the agenda and good of the order. I know that Anne has put a note in the chat about her, Anne Martin is chair of the West Seattle Democratic Women, and Anne has got her meeting information in the chat. And then Soleil, are you still with us? Would you like to announce what you put in the chat as well?
Yeah, for sure. So tomorrow we have, for the Social Justice and Equity Committee, we're going to have our first event just for the month. And it's just going to be a discussion with the African American Authors Writers Alliance, so we'd love to have you come by. It's via Zoom at 5:30 p.m. So that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. And Soleil is our new Social Justice and Equity Chair and has got some really cool plans. And this is the first event. So thank you for organizing that. Appreciate it. Any other good of the order? Okay, seeing no hands. If there is no further business, then, and there's no objection, sorry, did I hear someone?
Carla, can I make a quick announcement?
Sure.
Just wanted to give everyone's a heads up that the Highline School Board is looking for a board of director for District 5. So if you know anyone who, it's outside of the 34th, but if you know anybody who's in the Des Moines service area, please, please, please have them look at it, check it out. And I'll throw a link in the chat.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. All right, anybody else? Steve?
Yes, we're having an outreach meeting this coming Tuesday at 6:30 on Zoom. Please join us. We'll talk about what we have planned for the summer. And also, we're looking for additional ideas to get out there in front of the public. So please come. Contact outreach@34damas.org to get an invitation. Thank you.
And Steve, if you want to give me that information, I'll put it in the email on Sunday as well.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right, anyone else for good of the order? All right, if there's no further business and there's no objection, I will adjourn. Anyone have any objection? Sorry, we're a couple minutes late, but that was a pretty jam-packed meeting. So thanks for everyone who stuck around. And we are officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. Good night, everyone.
Great job, Carla.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.